Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Julia Nguyen of the Dream Life Foundation. Julia, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to be here.
No problem. Super excited to have you on as well. And before we jumped in, I want to read a little bit more about Julia so you can hear about all the awesome things that she's doing. And Julia is a psychiatric nurse, hypnotherapist, rapid transformational therapist, life coach, and founder of the Foundation.com. Obsessed with self-improvement and fascinated by the power of the mind, her personal mission is to help people realize their full potential and reach higher levels of fulfillment and consciousness. She overcame depression and now wants to share the tools she learned with you so that you can overcome your negative self-beliefs, connect with who you are, and tap into your full potential. Julia, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
Yeah, super excited. Thank you for the introduction.
No problem. Thank you for doing all the awesome things. And what I wanted to do is just to kick everything off to hear a little bit more on how you got started. Could you take us through your CEO story? We'll let you get started with your business.
Yeah, definitely. So basically my background is as a psychiatry nurse. And while I was working as a nurse, what I began to recognize was that a lot of patients would come in and then they would be put on medications, which would help them manage their symptoms, but like it didn't get to the root of the problem. So my thing was that I wanted to help people at a deeper level, and that's why I transitioned out from nursing into becoming a coach and a hypnotherapist, because I did see that gap where the medications were helping people but they weren't dealing with the trauma that they've gone through or the negative belief systems that they've developed. So that really inspired me to continue my education and then transition over to becoming a coach and a hypnotherapist.
Nice. Well, I definitely appreciate you in doing that. And I think, as you said, so many times we treat the kind of things that come out of the problems, not actually the root of the problems. And sometimes we can even push ourselves, our minds away from those problems because we don't really want to deal with them. But I love that you really get to that root, because I think that's really the only way to fully be healed and cured is when you kind of face what it is and actually treat that.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I know you touched on it a little bit. Could you take us through how you serve your clients and what exactly that process looks like?
Yeah, so basically, my initial meeting with a client is just trying to get to know them, understanding where their problems are coming from, and then just kind of like establishing a rapport between the two of us. And then I typically do a minimum of a 3-month program where I kind of focus on whatever it is that is coming up for them right now. And then we focus on that for the 3 months, and then after that, if they feel like they need additional work in other areas, then we would go through that. But I use a couple of different modalities. So I'm trained in hypnotherapy as well as NLP, and then I also do coaching. So what I try to do is I combine not only therapy but also coaching together so that you get the best of both worlds. So it's like working through the trauma, doing the deeper work, and then helping them with the motivation, helping them set goals, and then just really combining and putting it all together.
Nice. I definitely appreciate that. And kind of sounds like, definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but you get an opportunity to really get to know the person. As you mentioned, those modalities, it kind of sounds like based off of, I guess what would work or maybe has the desired effect or would connect best with that person. Sounds like you have those different kind of tools in your arsenal to be able to achieve that result.
Yeah, I think in general with coaching and therapy, there are so many different modalities that you can use, and everyone is different. So I don't have like a set plan for each person that I work with. It's generally whatever comes up. I do have the 3 main modalities that I use that I mentioned earlier, but in general, a multitude of things can come up for everyone. So it just really depends on what they need and how I can best serve them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so many times we have these things that we've dealt with in our lives or dealing with, or maybe have blocks. But so many times if you try to take a kind of a blanket approach as, oh, I did this with X, Y, and Z person, sometimes it doesn't have that desired effect. So it's great to have, you have that kind of unique approach to that individual and who exactly they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I wanted to ask you now for what I call your secret sauce. And this could be for you personally or your business or a combination of both. But what do you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique?
So again, I think my biggest like value that I add that's different than other competitors is basically how I combine the therapeutic skills as well as the coaching skills. So doing the therapeutic work means, working on a deeper level, healing like old traumas, like childhood wounds, as well as eliminating any negative belief systems. And then also combining that with the coaching part, which is more motivational and inspirational and goal setting and things like that. So it's a very like integrative approach. And I don't have anything against using medicine, but my goal is to help people, find their truth within themselves by, healing themselves instead of relying on external sources to, help them feel better. Because at the end of the day, like, if you still have internal conflict, that's going to affect all areas of your life, whether it's like your business, relationships, money, whatever it is.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that you said that, because I was going to ask you, does it sometimes happen where you quote unquote think that you heal, but it maybe manifests itself in other ways? Maybe it's your relationships, maybe it's your business or something like that, where you don't see an issue there, but because you haven't really cured or even maybe dealt with the true root of the issue, as you mentioned before, that it can manifest itself in so many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that a lot in my clients. Like a client will come to me for anxiety about maybe her son or something like that. And then when we actually do the work, we realize that the anxiety is actually around her business. And she
Mm.
actually is transferring that onto her son because she's not really aware of what's happening, and she's not looking within herself deep enough to realize that it's the anxiety isn't about her son, it's about her business and the stress that comes with it. But it's just easier to attach to someone who's right there in front of you, right? So
Mm.
yeah, that definitely happens. And it's all about, cultivating awareness around why you feel the way that you feel, and then from that you can kind of explore it further and work with it.
Yeah, that's so powerful. So many times, like you said, we're looking externally for the solutions to problems, but a lot of times we have to really delve within ourselves, have that knowledge of self. And I love that you kind of help your clients figure that out. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
So I would say one of my favorite tools that I use is a tool like the Management Matrix by Steven Coby from the books of the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a really, really great tool where you just prioritize what you need to do every single day. And then basically when you're done prioritizing, you pick the top three things that are most important that will get you the most out of doing those tasks. So instead of, usually we have a to-do list of like 10 items, it's really about honing in and focusing on the three most important things so that you can get the most out of those things.
Nice. I absolutely love that hack. I swear by that book, and it's literally looking at me in my face right now as I have it on my bookshelf. But I have to go back and look at that, because you're so right, where you can really get caught in the endless list of to do things that you have to do, but you really to do that practice and figure out exactly what's going to move the needle for what those three things are helps you to, I think, be a lot more effective than you would be otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. I think people get so focused on like getting everything done, they don't realize that you only need to do the three most important things, and that will definitely like help you move forward as much as you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of goes along with the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, where a lot of times you're trying to do everything, but really it's that 20% that moves things forward.
Yeah. And there's always resistance around that too sometimes, right? We all kind of like know what we should do, but we're like, no, we'll do that last.
Exactly. That it's not as fun as the other 80% things. So let me do that first. So
Exactly.
I love that hack. And so now I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO nugget. And this could be a word of wisdom or a piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
I think the biggest revelation I found for myself is the more open and vulnerable you are with the world, the more you're able to inspire others, and especially through your story. So, being vulnerable and sharing your story is a huge thing. I think for me, when I came out of my depression and I finally shared it with the world, it was like really healing for me. So I think whatever story people have, they should definitely share it with the world, because everybody is waiting to be inspired by your story, and we connect through storytelling. So it's such a huge and important aspect of, helping others as well as inspiring them and letting them know that they're not alone in this world. And I feel like that's such a huge thing when you're an entrepreneur. Like, you just feel really lonely sometimes, and you forget that other people out there may be struggling sometimes as well as you are, so it's removing your mask and taking off that persona, and then just showing up as you, like really authentically you, and then embracing that too. I think it's really a huge part.
Yeah, absolutely. The saying is be yourself because everybody else is already taken. And I
Yeah.
think so many times we forget about that. We forget about telling our stories, our struggles, the things that we're going through, realizing, feeling like it will kind of alienate us. But in reality, I think it brings us closer. As you said, you get that story, you get to understand that you're not the only one struggling. This person is also struggling. You're not by yourself. To me, it sounds counterintuitive, but it seems to bring us a lot closer together.
Yeah, I feel like the most intuitive things are usually the things that we don't realize when we're like in it, So
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely, absolutely. So now I wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So Julia, what does being a CEO mean to you?
To me, it means being a leader while you're able to inspire others to do the same. So, my biggest mission is to inspire other people to connect within themselves, and I do that with my work. So, being a CEO is being a leader, but also like creating an impact too. I think that's such a huge and important aspect of, being a business owner and being in a world where, like, there's so much chaos. So, being a leader and showing up in the world in a way where you can inspire others to do the same. So, like, my thing is, like, I am the creator of my life, and I can create anything that I want to, and I want to do that for others too. So it's really about giving back to the community and helping people realize that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just so powerful. I think that sometimes we forget that by, chasing our dreams or starting a business or doing whatever sometimes we might even sometimes be afraid of doing. Not only does it help us out, it helps remind us of what's possible. It also reminds the people that we don't even realize are around us and watching us that they can do it too. And it creates that impact that you kind of touched on that I think so often we forget by the actions that we take, we can create that forward momentum.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about the ripple effect. I always like tell this to myself when, like, I know I want to reach a lot more people, but even if I can just help one person, like, and improve their life in some way, that's going to like multiply in like tenfold, because then they're going to show up in the world differently, and then they'll impact someone else in a certain way. And, that way we can all help each other grow and, flourish at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. It always starts with one, and sometimes we don't always see the ripple effect that we have, but often it's there, and we start to sometimes feel it as it starts to ripple across the world and have an impact everywhere. So, Julia, truly appreciate that definition, and I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know, and of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things you are working on.
Yeah, so last thing I want to say is to just figure out what your mission and your life purpose is, and then chase after it with all you can and never give up on that. But also surrendering to the journey that the universe have for us, because I feel like sometimes it can be difficult on the journey, but just remembering that things will work out in the end anyways. And yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And people that want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so you can visit me on my website at thedreamlifefoundation.com. You can also follow me on Instagram. It's at IH3ARTJULIE.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And we will have those links and information in the show notes. And I truly appreciate that reminder. I think so many times we can get frustrated by the journey and the path that we have. But once we figure it out, as you said, kind of looking and working internally to figure out where we want to go and what we want to accomplish, it's so important that we kind of not fight the journey, not fight the process, not fight what's happening, but go along with it and understand that it's all in alignment with where we're trying to go and what we're trying to be and who we are ultimately. So I appreciate that reminder. I appreciate your work in helping people to figure that out as well too. And I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.